There has been a massive shakeup in the AI world this week. We've got a mind-blowing new AI avatar model from Alibaba that's so realistic it's honestly a little scary. Then, Google quietly dropped a new image generator that is officially creating some of the most photorealistic images I have ever seen. And it's beating almost every other model out there. On top of that, Alibaba is also about to open source their next generation video model, and the early demos look absolutely incredible. But the biggest news might be another bombshell from them, a brand new open source AI model that is going head-to-head with the giants like Gemini 2.5 Pro, OpenAI's O4 Mini, and winning, while costing about 80 times less to run. Seriously. And that's not even all of it. We're also looking at a new humanoid robot that does cartwheels for less than $6,000 price range, a tool that can instantly separate your flat sketches into perfectly editable layers, and an AI that creates perfect vector graphics just from a text prompt. This week was absolutely wild for AI, and we are covering all of it. Let's jump in. All right, our first tool is called OmniSVG, and it comes from the team at StepFun AI. So you know that feeling, right? You describe the perfect icon or character and an AI generates it. But the second you try to make it bigger, it just turns into a blurry, pixelated mess. What if you could skip that mess entirely? What if an AI could generate not a regular image, but a perfectly clean, infinitely scalable vector graphic? Well, that's exactly what OmniSVG does. It's a specialized model designed to pump out high-quality, complex scalable vector graphics, or SVGs, from either a simple text prompt or a reference image. And for anyone in design, web development, or even just content creation, this is a huge deal. Unlike a JPEG or PNG that gets all blocky when you zoom in, an SVG is literally made of code, meaning it stays perfectly crisp and clear no matter how much you scale it up. Just take a look at what this thing can do. The project page is filled with jaw-dropping examples, from simple, clean icons for a user interface to full-blown, colorful illustrations and even recognizable cartoon characters. We're talking everything from a detailed Mickey Mouse to a stylized Mr. Bean, and the quality is just outstanding. OmniSVG has three main modes. You've got your standard text to SVG, where a prompt like a cute cartoon character with a green and yellow mushroom hat gives you exactly that. Then there's image to SVG, where you can upload a clean image and it generates a near-perfect vector replica. And finally, there's character reference, where it can take a more complex image, even one with a background, and pull out the main character to create a new stylized SVG version. It's not always a one-to-one copy in this mode, but the results are still incredibly impressive. But the real test is how it stacks up against the competition, and folks, the comparisons are wild. The researchers pitted OmniSVG against a bunch of other tools, including heavy hitters like GPT-4o, Icon Shop, and SVG Dreamer. For a prompt like a red play button is centrally featured on an interface with a blue bar and various colored circles, most other models either missed the mark completely or produced something bizarre. But then you look at OmniSVG's output, and it's just perfect. It nails every single detail. The same thing happens with image prompts. When converting a simple emoji, even GPT-4o introduces some slight changes, but OmniSVG creates a flawless copy. It consistently delivers cleaner, more accurate, and more complex results than the current state of the art. So what's the magic behind this? How does it actually work so well? Well, the secret sauce is a two-part system. First, it's built on top of a powerful pre-trained vision language model called Qwen 2.5 VL, so it already has a deep understanding of both images and text. But the real genius is in its custom SVG tokenizer. Now, this is the part that's a total game changer. Instead of representing the SVG code as a long, messy string of numbers and commands, OmniSVG simplifies the process. It learns to represent entire coordinates, like a specific X and Y point, as a single, unique token. Think of it like learning a new word for a complex idea. This makes the code shorter, and more importantly, it helps the AI understand the structure of the graphic, preventing it from just hallucinating random nonsensical shapes. All of this was trained on a massive custom-built dataset of 2 million SVG assets, which is why it's so versatile. All right, so you've seen the results, you know how it works, and you're probably wondering if you can try it yourself. The answer is a big yes. The team has open sourced the code and even put up a free Hugging Face demo for everyone to play with. Naturally, I had to take it for a spin. I uploaded a pretty standard, even slightly pixelated shoe icon to the image to SVG demo. After a minute or so, it spits out the raw SVG code and a small preview image. Now, looking at the preview, you can see the 3B model isn't quite as flawless as the 7B powerhouse from the papers examples. It missed the white shoelaces on my icon. But the real magic happens when you grab that generated code. I copied it and pasted it into a standard SVG viewer, and this is where you really understand the power of vectors. I could zoom in, and in, and in. In fact, I zoomed in over 6 million%. And just look at this. The lines are perfectly sharp. There is no pixelation, no distortion. It's a completely clean graphic that you can use at any resolution. The great news is that this 3B model and its code are available right now, and the team has the 7B model release on their to-do list for the near future. If you're thinking about running this locally, you'll need a decent setup. The official numbers say the 3 billion model requires about 17 gigabytes of VRAM to generate images efficiently. You could probably get it to run on a 12 gig or maybe even an 8 gig card, but your generation times would be significantly slower. It's a powerful tool, and it needs the hardware to back it up. As always, I've dropped all the links you need down in the description, the project page, the GitHub repository, and of course the Hugging Face demo so you can try it out for yourself. Definitely go check it out. It's one of the most impressive vector graphics tools I've seen in a long time. All right, for our next tool, we're diving into something that is going to make digital artists and illustrators sit up and pay attention. It's called InkLayer, and it tackles one of the most tedious tasks in sketching. Imagine you've just finished a complex sketch on a single digital canvas, a whole scene full of characters, objects, and backgrounds. Now, what if you want to move just one character, or change the size of a tree in the back? Traditionally, you'd be facing the painful process of manually selecting every single line of that object. InkLayer promises to make that a thing of the past. At its core, it performs instant segmentation on sketches, which is a fancy way of saying it can intelligently identify every individual object in your drawing and automatically put each one on its own separate editable layer. Just look at this in action. It's genuinely incredible. You feed it a standard flat sketch, and it comes back with every object perfectly isolated and color-coded. In one example on the project page, you see a complex room sketch. The AI instantly identifies the chair, the table, the plant, the lamp, everything, and assigns each a unique color. This isn't just for looks. Each color represents a distinct layer you can now manipulate. The demos show exactly what this enables. You can simply click on an object, like a little animal in a scene, and move it around, duplicate it, or delete it without disturbing the rest of the drawing. There's another mind-blowing example of a child's room cluttered with toys. InkLayer flawlessly segments every single toy, the lamp, everything. You could grab the kid and move him to the other side of the room, or copy and paste the lamp to add another one. For anyone who sketches, this is a massive workflow accelerator. And it's not just for one type of sketch. The project page shows it working on everything from simple character drawings to incredibly detailed urban scenes and food illustrations. It seems to handle a huge variety of styles and complexities with ease, which is exactly what you want from a tool like this. The whole point is to free up the artist's time for creativity, not tedious manual labor.
So how does it pull this off? The technical pipeline is actually a brilliant combination of several powerful AI models. First, it uses a fine-tuned object detection model called Grounding Dino to scan the sketch and draw rough bounding boxes around everything it thinks is a unique object. Next, it passes those boxes to the famous Segment Anything model, or SAM, which then creates the precise pixel-perfect masks for each object within those boxes. But here's the secret sauce that makes it so impressive. It uses another model called Depth Anything to analyze the sketch and create a depth map. This allows the AI to understand which objects are in front of others. This is how it solves the tricky problem of overlapping lines, ensuring that if a character is standing in front of a table, the AI knows they are two separate layered objects. It's like giving the AI 3D vision for a 2D drawing. Now for the big question. Can you use it? Yes, the researchers have released the code on GitHub with full instructions on how to get it up and running. It's important to note that a public Hugging Face demo hasn't been launched just yet, so you will need to install it locally to try it out. The GitHub page lists the different models you'll need, which are essentially the building blocks of the InkLayer pipeline. As for the hardware requirements, the paper doesn't give an exact minimum VRAM, but it does mention that the experiments were conducted on a single NVIDIA 4090 GPU. It's definitely a demanding tool that loves a powerful GPU, but I think you'll be able to run it on older cards too, just with a bit more patience. I'll be sure to leave the link to the project page and the GitHub repository in the description below so you can check out all the examples and even try to install it yourself. Next up, we've got a tool that tackles one of the biggest challenges in all of 3D graphics. Have you ever seen a 3D model that just looks fake, where the lighting feels completely off and doesn't match the environment it's supposed to be in? Well, a new method called GeoSplatting is here to change all of that. Its main job is something called physically based inverse rendering. Now, in simple terms, that means it takes the series of photos of an object and does something incredibly smart. It doesn't just create a 3D model, it intelligently separates the object's core materials, like its color and its roughness, from the lighting of the original scene where the photos were taken. The result is, you can then take that 3D object and drop it into any new environment, and it will relight itself perfectly and realistically. The examples on their project page are absolutely phenomenal. Take this 3D model of a hot dog, for instance. They show it being placed in all these different environments, and the results are just stunning. When you place it near a fireplace, you see the warm, flickering glow reflect accurately right off its surface. Put it in a forest, and the lighting becomes softer, dappled by the trees. Under a bright sunrise, the light hits it from exactly the right direction, casting perfect shadows. The same thing goes for this helmet example. As the lighting conditions change, the reflections on its shiny metallic surface shift and warp in a completely believable way. This is the absolute key to making 3D assets look like they truly belong in their environment. But how does it stack up against other methods? Well, the researchers put it to the test, and GeoSplatting just blows the competition out of the water. In a direct comparison with a similar model called R3DG, you can see a huge difference. When trying to relight that same hot dog, R3DG really struggles. It messes with the color of the surface and produces these weird, inaccurate reflections. GeoSplatting, on the other hand, stays perfectly true to the original, nailing the shadows and the way the light interacts with the object. And when you look at the benchmark scores against a whole host of other models, it's a total knockout. GeoSplatting consistently gets the best or one of the best scores across the board. But here's the real kicker: the training time. While other state-of-the-art methods can take anywhere from 70 minutes to over 4 hours to train on a single scene, GeoSplatting does it in just 14 minutes. It's not just better, it's dramatically faster. So what's the secret? How is it so fast and so good? The magic is in how it combines two different 3D techniques. So you've probably heard of the now famous 3D Gaussian splatting, right? It's amazing for creating these super photorealistic views, but it has a big weakness. It represents objects as this weird cloud of fuzzy, semi-transparent points. Now, try telling a cloud of points how to properly bounce light or cast a solid shadow. It just doesn't work well. GeoSplatting's brilliant idea is to first build a classic solid 3D mesh to use as a geometric guide. It then uses a special mesh-to-Gaussian adapter to intelligently generate the Gaussian points directly on the surface of that solid mesh. This gives the model explicit, well-defined geometry, which is absolutely crucial for accurately calculating light transport, shadows, and reflections. It's a hybrid approach that gets you the best of both worlds: the solid, reliable geometry of a traditional mesh and the insane rendering speed and quality of Gaussian splatting. If you're excited to try this, the team has already released the full code on GitHub. You'll find all the instructions you need to get it running locally. Now, they don't list a minimum VRAM, but digging into the appendix of their paper gives us a clue. They state that the standard resolution model can be trained on a single 24GB card like an NVIDIA 4090 GPU in that impressive 15-minute time frame. However, if you want to push for even higher geometric detail, you'll need a professional-grade setup with over 60 gigs of VRAM. So yeah, this is a serious tool for serious 3D work. I've put the link to the project page and the GitHub repository right in the description for you to check out. For anyone interested in the future of 3D asset creation and realistic rendering, GeoSplatting is a project you absolutely need to be keeping an eye on. All right, next up, we've got a tool that's straight out of science fiction. What if you could just tell a virtual character or a robot what to do using everyday language and it would just understand and do it? And I'm not talking about simple commands like walk forward. I mean complex, multi-step tasks. Well, that's the incredible goal of a new open-source project from the brilliant minds at Stanford University called Human-Object Interaction from Human-Level Instructions. This is a complete system designed to give virtual agents a common-sense understanding of our world. It allows them to interpret high-level instructions and then execute them with realistic, physically plausible movements. Let's just look at the examples because honestly, they speak for themselves. You give the system a simple prompt like set up a workspace. The AI then generates a full-body motion sequence where the character realistically picks up a monitor, places it on a desk, and even pulls up a chair to get started. Give it the command, put shoes away, and you'll see it pick up a shoe and correctly place it inside a cabinet. Or how about do laundry? The virtual character actually picks up a basket of clothes and carries it over to the washing machine. For anyone working in robotics, gaming, or VR, this is a massive leap forward.
But the true innovation here, the thing that really makes you go, whoa, is the quality of the motion. When you look at the comparisons against older methods, the difference is just night and day. A baseline model might have the character's hand clip right through a table when trying to pick something up. It looks glitchy and fake. But this new method is incredibly precise. The interactions are human-like and physically grounded. A fantastic example of this is watching the character lift a heavy object. You can actually see how the model generates a physics-based motion. The character bends its knees, even shifting its balance by raising one foot. This isn't just a pre-made animation being played back. This is a system that understands how to interact with objects in a way that respects the laws of physics, making the whole thing feel so much more real. It correctly figures out it needs to use both hands for heavy objects and simulates the effort required. It's just incredible to watch. So, what's the tech behind this incredible system? It's a really sophisticated multi-stage pipeline. First, it uses a large language model, an LLM, to act as the brain. The LLM interprets the high-level human instruction, like set up a workspace, and breaks it down into a detailed step-by-step execution plan. It figures out which objects need to be moved and where they need to go. Then, a low-level motion generator, which is actually a series of specialized diffusion models, takes that plan and synthesizes the full body and intricate finger movements needed to perform each action. It even generates the motion in stages. First, a coarse, general full-body movement, then it refines the grasp, and finally, it adds the detailed finger motions to create a seamless, synchronized action. To top it all off, a physics tracker takes this generated animation and runs it through a physics simulation. It uses reinforcement learning to iron out any final issues like a character's foot sliding on the ground or a hand clipping through an object, ensuring the final result is 100% physically plausible. The entire project is open source, and the code was just recently released on GitHub. This means you can download it, run it locally, and build upon their incredible work. Of course, I'll drop the link to their project page and their GitHub in the description below so you can dive in and explore it all for yourself. All right, for our next tool, we're looking at a new model from the Alibaba group called Fantasy Portrait. And guys, this is a massive step up for creating realistic talking head animations. This system does two key things incredibly well. It generates animations from just an audio file, handling the lip sync and expressions, and it can also transfer motion from a driving video. First, let's look at the audio-driven results, because the lip syncing here is just phenomenal. Take a look at this first clip singing in Arabic. Even though the examples are short, you can see the mouth shapes are incredibly accurate for the language. But it's more than just the lips. Notice how the whole head and body move with the expression of the song. It's not static. Here's another example that really shows off the quality. Listen to this.
كل شخص عنده شهر معين في السنة بيكون مهم بالنسبة له اللي هو الشهر اللي بيجي فيه عيد ميلاده.
The lip sync is again very, very accurate, but look at the subtle animation, the head movement, the way the hair animates slightly. It all comes together to create a result that feels alive and natural, not robotic. And check out this one. This is what sets it apart from older methods. It's not just a moving mouth on a static head. You're seeing realistic, fluid movement that makes the entire portrait feel authentic. But here is where the model's true intelligence really comes into focus. Watch this example of a person singing. The animation is highly expressive and dynamic, with the kind of head movements and facial expressions you'd expect from a singer performing a song. Now look at this clip of the exact same person, but this time with a normal speaking voice.
工場に来ています。今日はぶどうについてお話を伺ってみようと思います。
The model is smart enough to change the entire performance. The character now looks directly into the camera with a calmer, more conversational posture. It understands the context of the audio. If it's a song, it performs like a singer. If it's speech, it behaves like someone having a conversation. This level of audio-driven nuance is something we just haven't seen before. The results are incredibly impressive. Okay, so that's audio-driven animation. Now let's look at its video-driven capabilities, where you use one video to animate another character. Here you can see a driving video in the middle, and it's animating 3 different characters at once. And you can almost see more animation in the generated characters than in the source video. It seems to be enhancing the motion. And in this example with 2 people, you can see the similarity in the motion, but it's not a perfect one-to-one copy of the body movements. However, where it truly excels is in copying facial expressions. Look at this example. The eyebrow movements, the shape of the mouth, every little twitch, it's all being transferred with incredible precision from the driving video to the animated characters on the right. And you can see it again here with this scary doll. The way it's animated to laugh in perfect sync with the driving video is both fantastic and a little bit terrifying. This is top-tier facial performance transfer, even if the larger body movements aren't always perfectly matched. When you put Vanity Portrait in a side-by-side comparison with other well-known models like Hunyan Portrait, Skyreels A1, and Live Portrait, the results speak for themselves. While some of the others produce glitchy or unnatural motion, Fantasy Portrait is consistently the most realistic and fluid of the bunch. It's just in another league in terms of quality. They even show it working on animals, animating cats and dogs to a driving video with properly synced lip movements, which is just wild to see. Check out this clip with speech.
If I'm on the drug, it's been weeks. It's not like something's gonna suddenly crop up now.
So you can see it's been animated onto dogs and cats, the lip sync is proper, and the movement has been animated very effectively. It's quite impressive. Here's another example without audio, but you can see the lip movement is accurate. The mouth is moving just like it is in the driving video. So how does this all work? The secret is that Fantasy Portrait moves beyond the old methods. It's built on a powerful diffusion transformer, or DIT architecture. Instead of relying on tracking explicit points like facial landmarks, which often fails when you're trying to transfer between different-looking people, it learns an implicit, abstract representation of facial expressions. It actually breaks down facial dynamics into separate components: lip motion, eye gaze, head pose, and emotion. The key is its expression-augmented learning, which allows it to pay special attention to the most complex parts, like lip articulation and emotion expression. This is exactly why it can tell the difference between talking and singing. For the multi-character scenes, it uses a clever masked cross-attention system that prevents the expressions of one character from leaking on to another, keeping everyone's performance independent and clean. Now, if you're eager to try this, the team has created a GitHub repository,
As of right now, they've stated that the code, models, and dataset will be made publicly available soon. Knowing Alibaba's track record, they're usually pretty quick to release their open source projects, so it's definitely one to bookmark. I'll leave the link to their project page and their GitHub in the description below so you can dive in and explore it all for yourself. All right, next up, we have a piece of news that is an absolute bombshell in the world of robotics. The Chinese company Unitree has just dropped their new humanoid robot, the R1. And what's got everyone's head spinning isn't just how impressive this thing is, but its absolutely groundbreaking price tag. The R1 starts at just 39,900 yuan, which is about $5,900. This machine is being marketed as being born for sport, and based on the launch video, it is totally living up to the hype. We're seeing this thing perform incredibly agile feats, like cartwheels, walking on its hands, and even running downhill, which just showcases its advanced stability and flexibility. The robot stands about 4 feet tall, weighs a pretty light 25 kilograms or 55 pounds, and features 26 degrees of freedom, which is what allows for its remarkably fluid movement. Under the hood, the R1 is powered by a multimodal AI model that combines both visual and voice recognition. This allows it to perceive its surroundings with 3D mapping and adapt to unexpected situations on the fly. So it's not just following pre-programmed routines, it's actively processing the world around it. And while the base model is seriously impressive on its own, Unitree is also targeting developers and researchers with the EDU model. This version includes the powerful NVIDIA Jetson Orin platform for more advanced AI development and comes with an open software kit to encourage people to build custom applications. You can even get a super dexterous hand as an add-on. But let's talk about that price again, because the sub $6,000 starting point is a massive deal for this industry. It drastically lowers the barrier to entry for advanced robotics. Just for context, Unitree's previous G1 model started at around $16,000, and other competitors' bots can cost anywhere from $20,000 to over $90,000. So this isn't just a small price drop, it's a fundamental shift. By making a capable humanoid this accessible, Unitree is putting incredibly powerful tools into the hands of startups, researchers, and even hobbyists, which could seriously accelerate the pace of innovation across the entire field. This is one to watch.
Next up, let's check out some super exciting updates straight from Google Labs. If you've ever tried Google's Flow for turning images into videos, there's now a killer new feature, especially if you're tired of wrestling with clunky text prompts. Instead of typing out what you want to change in your photo, you can now just draw or write your instructions directly onto the image. So you could just draw on some baggy white pants, scribble the word windows onto a building, or even write change to bus right above a taxi. And the system intelligently understands exactly what you're asking for and transforms those elements in the resulting video. The example Google showed off totally nailed all these edits. The white pants appeared, the new windows were added, the taxi got swapped for a bus. Everything happened just like the doodle suggested. If you've got a pro or ultra level account with Flow, you can jump in and try this out for yourself right now. Being able to just mark up a specific part of an image and tell the AI exactly what to change, it honestly feels like science fiction, but it's live and it's working. But that's not the only headline out of Google Labs this week. Google has officially launched Imagen 4 Ultra V2 and Imagen 4 V2. Now, Imagen 4 Ultra is Google's latest and greatest, most powerful text-to-image model, and it is already making serious waves. It's actually topped the Ella Marina's benchmarks with a score of 1,138 points, even outperforming big names like OpenAI's GPT-4 image model. Pretty wild, right? Right now, Imagen 4 Ultra isn't rolled out to everyone just yet, but it is available to test inside Gemini AI Studio and through Google's Gemini API. You can access both the original and the new Ultra versions with a free, though limited, number of generations. So naturally, I had to give it a quick demo. I tried the Ultra model with a prompt, generate a realistic photo of a woman on the beach wearing a bikini. Now, there's always a bit of uncertainty with prompts like this, since a lot of models heavily filter swimsuit images, but I was honestly surprised. The Ultra model cranked out an ultra-realistic image. The textures, the facial details, the colors, it just looked absolutely next level. For my next prompt, I tried highly detailed close-up of a woman's face, and the output was mind-blowing. It was so detailed and realistic. The facial features, the skin texture, the way the light reflected, the realism is just stunning.
And get this, you can run these generations right from your phone using Gemini app, not just on your desktop. So if you want to experiment with some truly state-of-the-art image generation, now's a great time to dive in. All right, let's jump into some seriously cool developments coming out of Alibaba. They're getting ready to open source their latest generative AI model, Qwen 2.2. And trust me, this is a huge deal for the AI community. If you've been keeping an eye on open source video models, you probably already know Qwen 2.1. It's widely considered one of the best open versions out there. But Qwen 2.2 looks like it's about to raise the bar even higher, and they've just dropped some demo videos to show off what it can do. From what they've shown so far, Qwen 2.2 is delivering seriously sharp generation quality and impressively realistic camera movement, which, as you know, is not always easy to pull off with these video models. There's this one scene with a couple sitting in a park, and in a fun little flex, the text Qwen 2.2 just materializes in the background. Whether it's building entire scenes from just the first and last frame, or transforming a static image straight into a video, the seamlessness and the level of detail just look way better than what we've seen from most open models. And here's the part that should get every tech enthusiast hyped. Qwen 2.2 is going to be completely open source. That means anyone, from indie developers to big studios, will be able to download it, experiment with it, modify it, and build on top of this super advanced model totally for free. My take on this is simple. If Qwen 2.1 was already the reigning champ among open video models, its successor is about to bring a whole new level of power and creative potential to the entire community. Definitely keep an eye out for the official release. You're absolutely going to want to get your hands on this as soon as it drops. Let's wrap up with what is probably one of the most exciting headlines in the entire AI world right now. Alibaba has just dropped Qwen 3, and folks, it is making some serious waves. Specifically, we're talking about the new 235 billion parameter model, which has an active 22 billion thinking part, and it's tagged with 2507 to mark their July 25th release. It is out now, and it is an absolute beast. So what makes these new models such a big deal? For starters, Qwen 3 uses a mixture of experts architecture, or MOE. Now, what that means in simple terms is even though it has a massive brain of 235 billion total parameters, it only activates about 22 billion of them for any single task. So you get the deep intelligence and nuance of a gigantic model, but at speeds and costs that are closer to much, much smaller models. It's a huge win for both AI enthusiasts and developers who want top-tier performance without breaking the bank. And yes, this model is completely open source and available for anyone to play with right now on Hugging Face and ModelScope. But what about the benchmarks? Well, Qwen 3 is crushing it across the board. It's going head-to-head with the closed-source giants like Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro and OpenAI's GPT-4o Mini. Just for some perspective, on the AIM-25 reasoning benchmark, Qwen 3 is right on the heels of the top dog Gemini 2.5 Pro. On Live Code Bench, which tests real-world coding skills, it actually takes the #1 spot, beating out Gemini 2.5 Pro, DeepSeek R1, and OpenAI's O Mini. Even in the super tough Arena Hard version 2 test, it's currently leading the pack with a very comfortable margin. And get this, the context window, which is how much information you can fit into a single prompt, is now up to 256,000 tokens. That means Qwen 3 can handle huge files and incredibly long conversations without breaking a sweat. But honestly, the most jaw-dropping part might just be the price. A top-tier model like Claude 4 Opus reportedly costs about $75 for 1 million output tokens. Qwen 3, it sits about $1 per million. $1, that is not a typo. In some reports, it's even less. That's up to 80 times cheaper for a model that is competing at the very highest level. That is a massive signal to the entire open source and developer community. You can also try Qwen 3 directly in Qwen Chat. It's a free web-based platform where you can interact with the latest Qwen models. Qwen Chat even lets you tweak the thinking budget to dial in more reasoning power for tough problems, and there's a voice mode if you want to go hands-free. And you don't even have to manually toggle the thinking mode. It'll intelligently decide how much deep reasoning to use on its own. So, the bottom line is this. Alibaba's Qwen 3 is one of the most advanced, cost-effective, and accessible large AI models out there right now. If you're into AI at all, or if you want to get your hands dirty with state-of-the-art LLMs, especially open-source ones, this is the moment to check it out. Try it on Hugging Face, ModelScope, or just jump straight into Qwen Chat and see for yourself what all the hype is about. All right, that's everything for this week's AI Roundup. So many incredible tools, so much groundbreaking news. I've dropped all the links to everything we talked about down in the description, so you can go check them out for yourself. Let me know which one was your favorite in the comments below. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more, and stay curious.